comply with the new EU Regulation 2022-2480 that is amending the EU Regulation 1025 of 2012. My name is Els and I will be moderating the webinar in the background. As usual, you know that you're all muted, but you have the possibility to use the Q&A panel to submit your questions. Should you be on Twitter, feel free to talk about the topic. We have a dedicated hashtag training for standards, and you can find CEN and CENELEC at Standards for EU. This webinar has been recorded, so you will be provided with the presentation and the recording later today. On the agenda, you see here, I will quickly go through it, not in detail, because the focus is on what comes next, of course. We address the provisions of the regulation 2022-2480, and then we deep dive into the changes in relation to the internal regulations, part 2. Items covered then by the provisions of the new regulation. And then we overview a possible scenarios of the voting results and the way forward for you as a TC, technical body officer. Implications, of course, on the outcomes in terms of obligations to implement your standards and HTs as well. And then we close down with some key takeaways that are important for you to remember. So without further ado, I would like to present speakers of today. We have the pleasure to have with us Mrs. Annika Andreasen. She is the CEN Vice President Technical. Next speaker also is Alberto Simeone, who's my colleague, account manager for the technical boards at CEN and CENELEC. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Els. Very welcome everyone to this training session about the changes in internal regulations too. And how we address then the provisions of the EU Regulation 2022-2480. So thank you, Alberto. So we have a modification of the Article 10, standardization request, European standardization organizations of the EU Regulation 1025 from 2012. And we have a new paragraph inserted in that article. And I will read it so we get it all. Without prejudice to other advisory opinions, each European standardization organization shall ensure that the following decision concerning European standards and European standardization deliverables referred to in paragraph 1 are taken exclusively by representatives of the national standardization body within the competent decision-making body of that organization. And that refers to decision on the acceptance and refusal of standardization request, decisions on the acceptance of new work items that are needed for the fulfillment of the standardization request, and decisions on the adoption, revision, and withdrawal of European standards or European standardization deliverables. These are changes that are going to be launched or implemented latest July 9. That's within 2 weeks of now. And what we have done, what does this mean then? This means that all standardization requests and related mandated work can only be decided by decisions taken exclusively by blue type members in CEN and CENELEC. So this has then resulted in that we have made adjustments in the internal regulation to meet these requirements. So I think we can take the next slide. The proposal of the internal regulation to update it has been worked with in BT Working Group 14, Rules and Processes. It has been very important to have all members on board, even the non-blue type members, in actually outlining how we will meet these requirements and how we can adjust internal regulations. What we have been our compass, if I say like that, and what we have had in mind is that the implementation of the new provisions, of course, and the involvement, as I said, of all NSBs and national committees of all types of members and then to have a final decision by blue type members. So how does our solution then look like? We are installing from July 9 a double counting system. So we have double counting of all votes. We will always display outcome of the voting of all members and the outcome of the voting of the blue type members. And if there's a discrepancy, final decision is taken by the blue type members after discussions in relevant BT. So when we have a discrepancy, we will bring that up to the technical board level. This is then reflected in the revision of the Internal Regulation 2 edition 2023. And we have additional BT decisions on operational aspects approved in May 2023. We have, as I said, the BT decision. We had the working group 14 recommended the decision to BT. BT recommended to AG. So we have taken an AG decision about the Internal Regulation 2 for both CEN and CENELEC. And in BT, we then have taken additional decisions how to handle this new process. And that has been about clarification on what to do, operations and timing when there's a discrepancy, as I said, between the outcomes of the votes with all members versus blue type only. The role of the technical boards to initiate European homegrown activity in case those international standards which are included in the standardization request and are expected to be developed together with ISO and ISC are not initiated at the ISO and ISC level. And also we have decided on approval of IT tools improvement to enable the double counting. So it has been necessary and needed to change the IT tools we have to actually incorporate the new internal regulations of double counting. I think by that, I give the word, that was a very brief introduction, to Alberto, and to give a deep dive into what does this mean. And we have different scenarios then that of course needs to be handled carefully. So please, Alberto, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Annika. I hope all of you can hear me well, and of course a warm welcome to all of you also from my side. I will stop my video in order to avoid any connection problem, and so we go in the deep dive on how all what you have seen on the screen is translated in technical work, and how will this impact your work. So something that BT Working Group 14 on Rules and Process, which is the working group that provides a recommendation to BT for final decision, had to address is the complexity of implementing the new provision in the new regulation 2480 for CEN and CENELEC, because we have different decision-making bodies for the different subjects. We have the BTs take some decision, for instance, for the acceptance of the standard request, while members are those deciding on the approval of an EN or TS on deliverables. But then we have also different decision-making bodies for the same subject. And we can have different approach if it's a CEN-TC, where, for instance, the creation of new work items is a delegated decision to the TC, while for CENELEC and for CEN-CENELEC joint technical committees is not yet the case. But then also we have different way of voting for different subjects. We, you know, that some items, for instance, the EN are approved via weighted vote. The TR are approved by simple majority. And then we have the CEN-CENELEC BT consultation, which is different from above and has different rules. And then to add on the complexity, we have different way of voting between CEN and CENELEC on same subjects. So, which means that in BT Work Group 14, we had to cover all possible scenarios and to provide precise rules. So you will see in the next slides how the CEN CENELEC technical boards have addressed the provisions, and of course the full work has been complex, and maybe you can be puzzled by the solution, but of course CCMC will help you to find your way. So if now we go to see one by one the items that are covered in the subjects that are covered in the new regulation 2480, and we see who have the responsibility in CEN and CENELEC, and the responsibility for those subjects have not been changed. So the decision on the acceptance and refusal of standard requests, which is the item A in the regulation 2480, is under the responsibility of CEN and CENELEC BTs. Decisions on the acceptance of new work items that are needed for the fulfillment of the standard request, which means basically the creation of new work items, is up to the members for CEN work items, because it's a delegated decision. It's a CENELEC BT responsible for the CENELEC new work items, are CEN technical board and CEN technical board responsible for the joint CEN CENELEC new work items. If we go to the subject in C in the regulation 2480, then we need to split them. So for the adoption of European standards and European standards deliverables, the responsibility is to the members. For the revision of European standards deliverables, we go back to the same criteria that we have seen for the creation of new work item. And for the withdrawal of European standards or European standards deliverables, when not replaced by new edition or other deliverable, in this case, the responsibility is for BT to decide on the withdrawal. And then there is a D, so there is a fourth group of decisions that de facto are covered by the new regulation 2480, even if not expressed, not explicitly mentioned in the new regulation. And so it's when there is a need to update the Annex ZA in CEN and ZZ in CENELEC and the normative references for homegrown deliverables after formal vote, which is under the responsibility of BT, and also when there is a need to remove the links to legislation for a specific work item, which again is under the responsibility of the technical boards. Now we have introduced in this presentation a series of questions that you can reply real time. Don't worry, there is your vote will remain anonymous. It is just to ensure that you have a correct understanding of what we have explained in the previous slides. So the first question is, if you go back to the first slides regarding the who is supposed to decide on the items covered by new regulation 2480, so who are the blue tie members in the CEN CENELEC membership? Let's wait a few more seconds. Okay, so I think we can close this poll. So 90% of you gave the right answer. And please, you need to be to become acquainted with this term, blue time members. It has been introduced in Internal Regulation Part 1 in the last years. And so the blue time members are the national standard bodies and national committees of the countries of the European Economic Area. So 90% of you gave the right answer. Are not for sure the Nordic countries. There is not even such specificities in our membership, and are not UK and Switzerland. De facto, UK is the only yellow type member, while Switzerland is one of the 4 red type members, together with Turkey, North Macedonia, Serbia, and that's all. Switzerland, Turkey, North Macedonia, Serbia. Okay, then we can go ahead. So now I hope it's clear for all of you. These are the NSBs and NCs of the countries of the European Economic Area, which means the 27 of the European Union, which means the 27 of the European Economic Area. So 27 of the European Union plus the national standard bodies of Iceland and Norway. Okay, we can go ahead. So what are the main changes in the International Part 2 that have been introduced in order to address the new provision? So first of all, a definition of standardization request and mandated work, where mandated work means technical work requested under standardization request or mandate. So every time we refer to mandated work in Internal Regulation Part 2, we refer to any new work item or work item that are launched because they are requested either in a standardized request or are supposed to be drafted under in a mandate. Then the major change has been in Clause 6 on the voting policy, where the principle of systematic double counting has been introduced, as explained by Annika, and is really the main focus of this webinar. And then in Annex D, if you have any doubts on what I just explained regarding the blue type members, yellow type members, or red type members, there is the full list of our 34 members and how and to which category they belong. So now to give you an idea of the main changes, if you compare the edition 2022 of Internal Regulation Part 2 and edition 2023 of Internal Regulation Part 2. So in 2022, under Clause 6 on the voting policy, there was only one single voting policy, covering both mandated and non-mandated work. So de facto, subclause 6.1 was covering any case. Now, since for mandated work, following the new regulation 2480, we have to install, we decided to install a systematic double counting and then a final decision to be taken by blue type members when needed. The Clause 6 on voting policy has been split in two. 6.2 is the non-mandated work, so how decisions are taken for non-mandated work, which is basically identical to the previous way of working. And then the novelty is the Clause 6.4 on mandated work. If you go on CEN or CENELEC BOSS, you will notice that at the moment, for this, I would say, transitional period, you will find the Internal Regulation Part 2, both the 22 edition and the 2023 edition that will be applicable from 9 July, which is the date of applicability of the new regulation. So please, if not already done, take a look to the Internal Regulation Part 2, the new version, in particular go in clause 6. Okay, so let's go back on a principle that was explained, and we can launch the question. So mandated work or mandated work items refer to work items which are intended to be submitted. Else, we cannot fully read the answer. Can you read it for us? I can do it. Work items which are intended to be submitted to the HS assessment. Work items which are covered by a mandate. Work items which are either requested in a standard request or developed under a mandate.
You actually need to enlarge the screen if you want to see the complete piece of text. Yes.
Okay. And do people at home see what I see, or they have their specific view?
I think they can decide from themselves if they want to see it large or smaller. Also, if you mouse over, you can see the full piece of text.
Yes, exactly. So enlarge the screen also at home for this poll. Okay. We are close to 90 replies. So the correct answer is C. So 84% of you have given the correct answer. So mandated work means any work item or any new work item which is either requested in a standard request or developed under a mandate. B is wrong because work items are covered by mandate. Mandate was the let's say the former name of before the entry into force of Regulation 1025 of 2012, where the concept of standard request was introduced. So if you say only mandate, basically you refer to only old mandates. So it is not correct, because also work items under the standard request are covered by the definition of mandated work. And the first one is not correct because standards which are intended to be submitted to HS assessment for perception of conformity and citation in the official journal are just a subset of the full number of standards that we can develop to respond to a standard request or a valid mandate. Okay, I hope now it's clear for the 16% who did not reply correctly. Let's go ahead. So if you have so if I was clear on how we manage the change in our internal regulation part 2 by splitting the voting policy in two, a specific clause for non-mandated work, so work which is not linked to standard request or valid mandates, and 6.4 work that is connected to standard request and mandated work and valid mandates, then you understand that it is very important that information whether a specific work item is correctly marked as such in our database. Because then the voting policy, how to vote on a work item, for instance, when we go to the vote that is associated to the inquiry of a PREN, the approval criteria will be linked either to 6.2 non-mandated work or 6.4 mandated work if the work item is marked as such in the database. So it is very important for all of you, if you notice in project online any error regarding the mandated against non-mandated nature of a specific work item, please inform as soon as possible CCMC. For this reason, in order to help having in a single tab all relevant information, project CEN line has been improved. I hope all of you as TBOs have the occasion to look at the new tab on projects online. There is also a recording available, and of course you can contact CCMC if there is something, or your PM, CCMC project manager, if there is something that you do not understand. So very, very important that the information on projects online, which means in our database, are correct and refer to and that a specific work item is identified correctly as mandated or non-mandated. Okay, so as I said, the new voting policy has been defined for mandated work, so we will have new approval criteria, but then there are some changes which are, I would say, mainly editorial, that you will find in the template of the voting results for both mandated and non-mandated work. So the first change, you will not find any longer reference to the EEA countries, but to blue type or non-blue type. So we use the exact term as defined in Internal Regulation Part 1, and here you have the exact definition of what is a blue type, a red type, and a yellow type. So for both mandated and non-mandated work, the template of the voting results will change. It's mostly editorial because you will not find any longer EEA countries in this voting result, but reference to blue type or non-blue type. The second change that will affect both is that you will the outcomes of the voting of blue type members will be always displayed together with the outcomes of the voting counting all members for non-mandated and mandated work. So this is an example. On the left, you have the CEN-like display of the results. So you have national members, which means the counting with all members, and the counting with blue type members. Today, you see the blue type member result only if in case of weighted votes, in case the weighted vote fails counting all members. From tomorrow, also for non-mandated work, you will always have the double counting, but the approval criteria for non-mandated do not change. And the same goes for the CENELEC voting result. So you will find always blue type members. So why we introduced this change in the voting results also for non-mandated work? Because in the approval criteria do not change. Well, this is linked to what I just explained in case of errors in projects online. If a specific work item in projects online is not identified, for instance, as mandated work, so as a work item that is requested under a standard request or developed under a valid mandate, then it means that the voting procedure that is followed for its approval is the voting procedure for non-mandated work. So if there is this mistake, the approval criteria will be the non-mandated work, which means that the blue type members counting does not take place unless the counting with all members fails. Imagine that after inquiry or after formal vote, the TC secretary realized that there was a mistake in projects online. By having always the double counting on the voting result, the secretary will be able to retrieve what would have been the result by counting also the vote of blue time members. So it's a kind of safety net. So that's why that also for non-mandated work, you will always find the display the result of the blue time members. But the approving criteria do not change. So remain the approving criteria as in the current IR2. Then the third change is the terms that I use for approving or disapproving. So for non-mandated work and mandated work, you will find, for non-mandated work, you have approved by national members, disapproved by national members, approved by blue time members for CEN and CENELEC. While for mandated work, you will have approved by national members, disapproved by national members, approved by blue time members, so identical as above, but then you have the pending, so the concept of pending, a decision is pending. And then after the pending, that work item can be approved by VT decision or disapproved by VT decision. So I hope I was clear. So the approval criteria for non-mandated work do not change, are the same as today. Today are in 6.1, tomorrow they will be in 6.2, but the template has no more make reference to the EEA countries, but blue type. Always display the result of the blue type members, but you don't have to use them if it's non-mandated work. And these new terms are used in both templates. Okay, just a quick check to see whether these concepts are clear. So the approval criteria have changed. Approval criteria, yes, but only for mandated work. Yes, for both mandated and non-mandated. No, approval criteria are identical as before. Okay, we already 97 replies. I think we can see the result. Okay, this question is important because in this case, only 52%, 51% of you provide the right answer, and 29% and the rest 50% provide the wrong answer. So what I showed you before are three changes that are mostly editorial for non-mandated and mandated work. The approval criteria change only for mandated work. So the right answer is A. B is not correct because for non-mandated work, nothing changes. There is no change. Only the template of the voting result has some editorial change. So reference to EA, so no more reference to EA, but a blue type, a different way whether to say if they're approved or not. But the approval criteria that are behind remain exactly the same of today for non-mandated work. So it's B is not correct for this reason. And C, where I see that 21% of you say that approval criteria are identical as before. No, because of course they all exercise in VT work group 14, rules and process, and then in VT reflected in interregulation part 2 is to define a new approval criteria for those work items under standard request or valid mandates. So the right answer is A. The approval criteria are changed only for mandated work. Okay, we can go to the next. So question number 4. So now it's this is I would say a question to double check that what I explained is clear. So for non-mandated work, all remains unchanged for non-mandated work. Yes, same approval. So all remains unchanged for non-mandated work. Yes, same approval criteria and same template. No, same approval criteria as before, but different template where the double counting is always displayed. So the question is general, it's not specifically on approval criteria for non-mandated work, it's in general approval criteria and also the template for the voting result. Okay, we have almost 100 replies. I would say it's much better than question number 3. So 83% of you gave the right answer, so is B. So for non-mandated work, nothing changed in terms of approval criteria, but you will have a different template. So A is not correct because same approval criteria is correct and same template of voting result is not correct. There are some editorial changes. Okay, I hope that this helped to clarify any doubts. I see there are some Q&A. You can, of course, you can write your question there, and if there is time, I will take it at the end of this webinar. Okay, now and now we go in the approval criteria. I want to show you exactly what are the changes in the approval criteria. For doing this, we take the full list of subjects that are covered by Regulation 2480, and we split them into subjects that are under members' responsibility and subjects that are under BT responsibility. Of course, you are 132 people here, so most of you are TBOs. So this part 1, subject under members' responsibility, is the part that is crucial for you as TBOs. The second part are how to deal in BTs, and I will go quickly through it, but the part of your interest is this one. So if we look at the subjects in Regulation 2480 that are under members' responsibility, they are split in 2. And we go first to see the voting criteria for the approval of mandated deliverables and then the approval of mandated new work items. And as I said, since in this part we cover subjects under members' responsibility, the new work items are here covered are only those in CEN, because the creation of new work items is delegated to the CEN-TCs. In CENELEC, this will come in Q4 of this year. So we will, of course, inform the CENELEC community on the novelties. So let's start with the approval criteria for the mandated deliverables. And in order to do that, we need to make a split, because so the deliverables are the EN, the TS, the HD in CENELEC, harmonized document in CENELEC, and the TR. we have to keep separate TR because the TR are approved by simple majority. So first we cover EN, TS, and CENELEC HD because they are all approved via weighted vote. Via weighted vote was in the current edition, 22 edition of Internal Regulation Part 2 was covered under 6.1.4. It will be covered for mandated work under 6.4.4. So what are the possible scenarios? Let's take, for instance, the example of an EN, scenario 1. So the voting is launched. Then in the voting result, the counting with all members provides a positive outcome. The voting with blue tie members also provide a positive outcome, then is approved. At the moment, let's leave the last column, the obligation to implement at the end. So is approved, there is nothing to do. The technical body can go ahead with either to see the comments after inquiry or proceed to publication. Then scenario number 2. All members, the counting with all members provided a negative result. The counting with all members provided a positive result, then is approved. Please note that there is no difference with the current rules. Also today, Internal Regulation Part 2, 22 edition reads that in case the count with all members failed, a second counting is done with the blue tie members, and if the outcome is approved with the blue tie members, then the EN or TS or HD is approved. There is, of course, an impact on who has to implement the EN or HD, but this I will cover later. And then there is a scenario 3, which is the novelty in these approval criteria when using weighted vote. So scenario 3, when the counting with all members would approve the EN, TS, or HD, while the counting with the blue tie members wouldn't, then in this case the outcome is pending. So with the Internal Regulation Part 2, 2022 edition, so the one that will be replaced in a few days by the new one, these the outcomes have been approved. So if all members approve an EN, the blue tie members counting does not even take place. But since Regulation 2480 provides that for mandated work, only blue tie members, so the members of the EU countries, EA countries, have to approve, have to take the decision. Therefore, this is the real novelty, and the outcome is pending. Pending means that you, as TBO, a bell must ring. So you need to do something. So what you have to do? You have to provide, you have to discuss, look into the results, discuss the issue, and provide an advice to the BT. Because as Annika mentioned, the solution that is approved by the CEN technical boards and reflect the Internal Regulation Part 2 is that the final decision will be taken by BT. And of course, BT will look into the matter in a BT meeting via consensus, hopefully. So always consensus would be sought among all members. If not possible, a decision will be taken with the vote of the blue tie members. Scenario 4 is a scenario where, as happens also today, all type do not approve the ENTS or HD, the blue type do not approve, then of course is not approved. So now to cover the last column on the right, and the concept of obligation to implement or not an ENHD. Of course, there is an obligation to implement a TS. So this last column only applies to ENHD. For scenario 1, every member is requested to implement at national level that deliverable. In scenario 2, as already is today, only blue type plus those yellow and red type who vote positively. And then, of course, we had to consider the new scenario. If via consensus the decision is to approve the standards, then all members will have to implement the standard. While if then the decision is taken by blue type members, it's very likely that there is no standard, because if you go in scenario 3, the column of blue type members is when blue type members voted negatively in that case. So now we can go and see how these will look like. So these are the voting results. The new template for voting results for mandated work. A disclaimer has been added. The voting result is calculated based on IR2 clause 6.4, decision concerning standards request and the related mandated work, and only with this sentence it will be always possible to understand which approval criteria have been used. So in this case, are used the approval criteria in 6.4, which means the approval criteria for mandated work. The counting of the blue type members is by default displayed on this voting report. If the voting result is pending, the item has to escalate to the technical board for final decision aligned with CEN Regulation Part 2, 6.4. TCs are expected to carry out a preliminary assessment of voting results so that to provide advice to BTs for an informed decision. And this second part has been added also to remind the TBOs on what is expected in case of pending, because pending is the only outcome where something needs to happen in order to move forward. You see the conclusion is below, so will appear very clearly as a pending, this part, the red circle here. You see that here the voting result, so we make reference to all members and the blue type members. So it is exactly what I told you before. So this is another example where the voting results provide a negative outcome by counting all members, positive outcome with blue type members, and therefore the wording is approved by blue type members. So now we go to the example for CEN. Example of pending in CEN. So this is the voting results in CEN. It's pending because the counting with the all members would have approved the standard, while the counting of blue type doesn't. You see that the number of blue type members approving is only 50%, while the requirement is 55%. So all members, yes. Blue type members, no. Then it's pending, and same as before, the matter is to escalate to CEN BT for a decision. And then this is how we look like in CEN after CEN BT will take a decision. And this is one of the novelty in how the voting result will appear. So you will find approved by BT decision. So approved by BT decision for an EN or a TS means that it was pending. The step before was pending, and then BT decide approved, of course, could also result into disapproved by BT decision. Okay, so what is expected in case of pending? The topic to be preliminarily discussed within 2 weeks by relevant TC, then it will escalate to relevant BT within 2 weeks. If no consensus can be reached among BT members, the final decision will be taken by blue type members in the BT, of course. If scenario 3, so if the pending happens for EN HD at inquiry stage, TBs are recommended not to skip formal vote and discuss the matter together with all other inquiry comments at the planned TB meeting. In this case, there is no need to escalate to BT, and the outcomes at formal vote can be awaited. So if the pending is at inquiry stage, do not skip formal votes. But in this case, there is no need to go to BT. I know all of you are thinking that having the topic discussed within 2 weeks by the TC is very challenging. Indeed, it is. And also, actually, to be fair, it will be very challenging also to have it discussed within 2 weeks in BT. In any case, the members of the technical boards, conscious of the challenging deadlines in the standards request, wanted to fix this deadline. So it means that please be prepared for the pending scenario. So, for instance, you could plan a meeting or a call or other forms of interaction even before the voting is launched on that specific work item. In any case, so far experience showed that the scenario 3, where all members would have approved, while by counting only the blue time members would have disapproved the work item, is very exceptional. So we have a fair belief that the pending scenario should happen rarely, but of course must be considered as a possible scenario. So now we covered the specific case of TR. So why TR were not covered? So the technical reports, why they were not covered together with EN, TS, and HD? Because they are approved by simple majority, so not weighted vote, and therefore we need to have a different. So there are different rules. The main changes is that the pending outcome happens twice, because today in Internal Regulation Part 2, so the 22 edition, the one that will be in 10 days will be replaced by the new one. While for weighted vote, the second counting of blue time members is already foreseen, for simple majority, this is not foreseen. So the pending will happen every time there is a discrepancy between the vote, the outcome of the voting considering all members, and the outcome of the voting considering the blue time members. And so it applies exactly what I just explained. For TR, we have very few examples of TR requested in the standards request or under valid mandates. So there are, so we need to cover this case, but these are very rare. So also in this case, this will apply really in a very small number of cases. In any case, all what I explained on the voting result is so the outcome, approved, pending, or disapproved, is something that you don't have to interpret as the secretary, because it's written in the voting result. Okay. Now we pass from the approval of mandated deliverables to the approval of mandated new work items. And as I said, we are still under the work items under members' responsibility, so not BT responsibility, and therefore now we cover only the new work items for CEN, because the mandate and work items for CENELEC and for JTC will be covered in the next part concerning BT decision. Here there is an important change in the committee internal balloting. So CIB is the tool that is used by the CEN-TC secretaries to launch the approval of a new work item. It is important that the CEN-TC secretary ensure to have correctly select the options weighted majority or simple majority. So weighted majority will be the option when launching the vote for a EN and TS, and the revision of an EN modifying the scope of the previous EN, and instead the secretaries will select the option simple majority when voting on TR and on amendment and revision of EN not modifying the scope. The novelty here is the second field. Since the approval criteria depends whether the new work items is covered, is requested under a standard request or developed under a mandate, the information in this field is crucial. And the fact that this field standardization request in brackets mandate is not empty will trigger from the CIB tool the approval criteria for mandated work. If this field is instead free, is empty, then the approval criteria for this CIB will be the one of non-mandated work. So this is something to which the secretary will have to pay attention. Unfortunately, it's not automatically taken from the database, from Projects Online. So you need to ensure, you need to check the correct information on Projects Online and then add the reference to the mandate. So if this field is empty, then the new work item will be approved via the approval criteria of non-mandated work. If it is not empty, then the criteria, the new approval criteria for mandated work, as in the new edition of Internal Regulation Part 3, will be applied. This is an example. Again, as before, the TC secretaries do not have to interpret the results. You will have a clear result. So in case of pending, it's written pending. This is weighted vote, so we apply the concept that we have seen before. So even if all members approved, but blue type members disapproved, so it goes to pending. And then after TC advice, the item is brought to BT. I want also to underline that the CEN-CENELEC BT members want to go for a systematic awareness, I would say, of the of all pending results, to understand how the discrepancies between all members and blue time members are big. So it's also, at least in this phase, also to understand if there is a trend in the discrepancy between the voting with all members and the blue type only. So what you see now is how we look like the voting results for a work item that was pending in first instance, and after BT then was approved. Of course, you can have also disapproved by BT in case BT decides not to approve it. As you can see, this is exactly the since we're covering the approval via weighted vote, this is the same scenario as before. So the pending only applies in this case. And as before, please be prepared within the TC to react to the pending scenario and provide an advice to BT. You can organize these. So you know that for the approval of a new work item via CIB, there are 2 months. So when launching the CIB, you could already book provisionally a TC meeting or working group meeting or a meeting with working group convener to then discuss possible pending scenario. Also in this case, discrepancies between old members and blue-time members are very rare, but still may happen. Then, if we cover the now the other scenario of new work items intended to be a TR or an amendment or revision not modifying the scope. So it goes by simple majority. So the TC secretaries have to pay attention to select simple majority here on the CIB. So this menu. Of course, if mandated, you need to add the information in the field standard request or mandate. And here, the pending scenario can happen twice. Is in any case of discrepancies between scenario 2 and scenario 3. The TRs are rare in under standard request are rare. The revision not modifying the scope are not so rare, so please be careful. Okay, question. Let's see if everything was clear. So we can launch question number 5. The question is, TC secretaries will have to calculate the voting result for mandated work. True, it will be a very complicated task requiring a lot of attention. False, the voting result will be provided by the tool. Okay, I am happy to see that 99% of you went for the right reply. You don't have to interpret the voting results, but they will be given by the tool. So in this case, your work as TC secretary is facilitated. All right, then we can pass to the presentation. Okay, now the CEN-CENELEC TBOs participating in this webinar can relax, because this is an overview of what will happen in BT. So for those topics that are under the responsibility of BT to take a decision, and I can go a bit faster on this part. So for instance, and here we make again, we need always to differentiate for those topics under BT responsibility that requires the weighted vote or the regular BT consultation. So weighted votes are, for instance, the approval of the standard request by CEN and or CENELEC. Of course, you know that there are some standard requests like artificial intelligence that are for both CEN and CENELEC, while there are others that are specifically only for CEN and for CENELEC. So it is a weighted vote. and the same BT, the BT will vote, and the scenario is the one below the scenario for weighted vote, which means that the standard session request will be approved if the outcome with all members and blue type is positive. If the outcome with the blue type members only is positive, while the scenario, the outcome with all members is not, then goes pending when all members would approve the standard request, while the blue type members wouldn't, or is disapproved in the last scenario. Of course, in scenario 3, BT need to meet and discuss scenario 3 and then take a final decision by consensus, and if not possible, by the blue type members votes. Also in this case, it will be important that BT can meet quite fast, which means that from 9 July, every time we will request the BT members to vote on a standardized request, we will indicate in the document that a provisional date for meeting is, and so we will propose a date so that to block on the calendar of the BT members a possible date where to discuss, depending. Of course, if then scenario 3 does not apply, that meeting will be deleted. Then still the awaited votes, but only for CEN-BT, is the approval of the Annex ZA after formal vote and the approval of the removal of links to legislation. So we apply the same concept as in the table below. What are those subjects under BT responsibility that do not go via weighted vote but via regular BT consultation? You see, the BT consultation is not simple majority, because in CENELEC, any disagreement, only one disagreement out of the 34 permanent delegates triggers the non-approval of the item, while in CEN, yes, it is a kind of simple majority, but de facto the members have the possibility to defer the decision. So the BT member have a veto right. So it's so we call it BT consultation because it has very specific rules and different from CEN-BT to CENELEC BT. So the subjects that are covered by this BT consultation, not weighted vote, is the approval of new work items of CEN CENELEC JTCs, and this is a common decision of CEN CENELEC BT. Then the decision to withdraw a CEN and/or CENELEC deliverable, and again, as I specified before, this is the case when the deliverable is not replaced by the new edition or by another standard. Then and then the approval of new work items for CENELEC. So it's not yet a delegated decision. Will be at the end of this year, but it means that from 9 July we have to cope with the current situation. Therefore, it's a CENELEC BT decision. Same, the approval of the Annex ZZ is a CENELEC BT decision, while in CEN was via weighted vote. In CENELEC BT is not weighted vote, that's why it's here. And the same approval links to legislation from CENELEC standards. In CEN is weighted vote, so it was the last item, number 3 here, and while in CENELEC is a regular CENELEC BT consultation. Here we can have a lot of scenario. I will save this part for you. Together with the modification to the e-voting portal, e-balloting portal for CEN, CIB, For CEN, also, we have revised the vote calculator for both CEN and CENELEC. These are mainly used by my team, so the team of the technical boards, so the team that has to calculate the voting result after BT consultation. But of course, these calculators are available, are publicly available, so you can use them. Maybe we can even jump and give you a flavor of how they look like. So, for instance, the CENELEC, the new CENELEC vote calculator. So, imagine that we requested, so that CENELEC BT was requested to vote, for instance, on the removal of links to legislation. No, sorry. So on the approval of a standardization request. And imagine this is the scenario of members who voted. What we need to have is an outcome considering all members and an outcome considering blue tie members. You can see this is exactly the example when via weighted votes, if all members approve, but the blue tie members do not approve the decision to accept the standard request, then it goes pending, and we, as BT team, we have to organize the BT meeting in order to discuss this specific aspect. Let's imagine, for instance, that Italy voted positively. You can see that the blue tie members in this case change. So this is the case where there is an approval outcome for both voting. So in this case, the standard request will be approved. So the CEN and CENELEC vote calculator have been modified, so it will be possible to have clearly identified the result for the counting with the blue type members and all members. Okay, to recap what we have seen today. So we are at the end of the presentation, and we will have some time for the question and answers. So, as TBOs, mandated work means that the new work items or work items are requested under a standard request or covered by valid mandate. Please assess it before starting work. So be sure that a specific work item is a mandated one. If not, if you spot an error, then inform CCMC. As I said, the fact that a work item, new work item, is marked as mandated or non-mandated will impact the voting result. So, for decisions launched as of 9 July, which is the date of applicability of the new regulation, the new approval criteria for mandated work apply and may affect the approval of deliverables. For you, a bell has to ring when you will find the outcome pending. At the beginning, you can also ask CCMC PM for support and advice. So you need to provide an advice in 2 weeks to the technical board, and then the technical board will take a decision 2 weeks later. You don't have to interpret the voting. I think it was very clear from your answer, from your replies before. 99% of you have correctly replied that indeed the secretaries do not need to interpret the voting because the voting result is very clear. Noting changes in the voting results for non-mandated work. So the approval criteria do not change, but the counting of blue-time members will be always displayed also for non-mandated work. So this is what it has been explained before. You in the template of the voting result, even if it is non-mandated work and then it means that it's not covered by the new provision, in any case you will find the counting of the blue-time members displayed. But the approval criteria do not change. If it is non-mandated work, then the counting of blue-time members will not be considered if, for instance, is not positive, while the counting with all members is positive. The last item is a mistake, so they've been deleted. Of course, this is the webinar of 30th of June, and both the first webinar and this webinar will be made available in the expert area. Maybe I leave Else to explain at the end of this webinar where they will be placed. So the presentation will be available, but also the recording of the two session will be available. Another thing I want, maybe now while you will answer this very important poll, I can try to reply to your questions that are in the Q&A here. Okay, so the questions 1020, so it was at the beginning of the presentation. In 2.24, the definition includes the defined term. This is something that TCs are not allowed to do. So 2.24 is the new definition for mandated work. The definition includes the defined term. I guess you mean mandated work because we refer to the word mandate. The word mandate is so mandated work is all work items and new work items that are requested under some request or covered by a valid mandate. And in the definition, there is a reference to the word mandate. In the definition above of standard request, there is an explanation of what mandate is. Basically, it was the former concept of standard request before Regulation 1025 entered into force. Okay, then Chiara from ANEC. Hello, Chiara. What if a work item has been approved as non-mandated, but then the draft standard is offered under a request? Yes, exactly. For this reason, we will introduce also in the voting result for non-mandated the double counting. So if I go back to my slide. So what are the changes for mandated and non-mandated? Well, I hope that you can see it, these slides. So also for non-mandated work items, the double counting will appear. So that is possible to understand what the blue type members voted in case, as Chiara says, that at the end the standard is offered. So basically, then is offered, then should have been voted as a mandate. So in that case, before offering, we will have to double check the blue time members have approved as well. If they have not approved that EN or TS or HD, then a BT meeting needs to take place and decide on what to do. So I guess also Chiara's answer has been replied. I hope it's been clear. So national members are non-blue type essentially. National members are non-blue type. So let's go to the definition in internal regulation part 2. So Jan, in CEN and CENELEC we have 34 members. So we have 34 NSB in CEN and 34 NC in CEN. The blue type members are the members of the European Economic Area, and they are 29. So in reality, we have the majority of the NSBs come from the European Economic Area, because blue type members are the 27 of the European Union plus Iceland and Norway. So we have 29 members of CEN and CENELEC, which are blue type. So the majority, I would say, well, I don't know now, I would say 70–80% are blue type members. It's the other way around. Red type members are only 4. So Switzerland, Turkey, Serbia, and the Republic of North Macedonia, because these belong to the group countries candidates for the accession to EU. The only yellow type is UK, that went out from the European Union, so cannot be considered as a red type, but still they have an agreement with the EU demonstrating regular convergence. So 29 are blue type, 4 are red type, and 1 are yellow type. And this is not, of course, something that we decide in BT. It comes from Interregulation Part 1. As the CEN calculator, what has been reapplied to the new? Yes. Also the CEN calculator is ready. In this presentation, you will find the link. So if you click on this, you will see the CEN calculator. You will have the outcome with all members and the outcome with the blue type members. Are already running new work item ballots for many projects also affected by the new voting procedure, or will only be applied to new ballots starting in July? Yes, indeed, Nora. We have specified this in the BT decision that was mentioned by our CEN Vice President Technical at the beginning of the seminar, that only for voting launched, only for decision launched as of 9 July 2023, all what we explained today will apply. So the current ballots will be then approved via the old criteria. So also Nora, question has been answered. Then Eric Vern, what is the result in case the TC advice is no? Mandate TRS is not really the TC advice is more to let's say understand why there is a discrepancy between the two votes. It's not really to decide if it is not or yes. In any case, if so the no scenario, for instance, for mandated TR, so the TR are voted via simple majority. So let's go in the right slide, so the discussion is not too theoretical. So this is the example of Eric, where there is a mandated TR, they're approved via simple majority, and we fall within case scenario 2 or 3. So within a technical committee, there is discussion why there is this discrepancy, why the blue tie members voted yes, while they all voted no, and the advice should help BT to take a decision, so understand why there is this discrepancy. Then it's up to BT to take a decision. So you can advise that actually it's better not to approve. So basically, we would be in a scenario where, so scenario 2, when all voted no, and then also blue type agreed that the TR should not go ahead. In that case, you will provide an advice no to BT, and I guess BT will ratify your no, and the work item is not approved, so the TR is not approved. Aline, 2 weeks is quite short. How to manage holidays or a secretary out of office? Is a tolerance is possible? I think, Aline, with a tolerance will be surely possible, especially at the beginning. We know it's very, very challenging 2 weeks. But as I said, to think proactively, if you launch a new work item approval, a ballot for new work item approval, which lasts 2 months, when you launch it, try to book provisionally also a meeting for the TC. Same goes when an EN is sent for inquiry, to which a vote is associated. Inquiry lasts 12 weeks, so it's almost 3 months. I know it will not be easy, so try to stick to the 2 weeks. I guess a tolerance for sure for summer period can be granted, but of course I cannot promise something that has not been agreed in the CEN-CENELEC technical boards. So, is there a quick reference table infographic available to summarize this presentation? So we will update CEN and CENELEC boss. So to give you instructions. Susan, if I understood correctly, for a pending vote at inquiry, there is no need to go to BT decision, only for new work item and formal vote. Exactly. So if, well, let's say that there is no need if the TC thinks there is no need because there are maybe many comments after the national inquiries. In case there are few comments in national inquiries and the TC believes that you can skip formal vote, then you can decide to go to BT. But your assumption is correct in your question. Joachim, our work item started because of an RFS from ERA in general mandatory work or apply the further rules. No, I don't understand this question. Please send us an email, Joachim. Abstentions are not counted. It is correct. Yes, exactly. So an inquiry vote will remain status pending forever. So if there is no need to go to have a BT decision, then is default disapproved. So will not appear as pending forever, but will be disapproved because the fact is a disapproval. Are we concerned because of request for standardization? So you mean a standard request in the railway sector? So if there is a standard request or there is still a valid mandate, then we fall in the mandated work, and so there are no further rules. In any case, there are only 2 rules. Either it is mandated or non mandated. So in case there is a standard request, then they are mandated, and so we will apply subclause 6.4 of the voting policies in regulation part 2. All right. Then else, I think that all answers have been, all questions have been answered?
Yes, I think so too. I've closed down the feedback poll as well because many persons replied. So thank you for that. The results can help us improving our webinars in the future. So that's very helpful. Yes, I don't know if you want to add something else, Alberto. Thanks a lot for your interventions.
Thank you, Elsa. No, I want to thank participants for their active contribution. And of course, we understand that in the first weeks from 9 July, when the voting will be launched on mandated work, you may have some questions, so feel free to reach us and CCMC, and we will provide you any clarification. So thank you. So this presentation will be available on our website, else, and you will send also to the email of participants.
That's correct. All attendees will receive an email today with the information where to find the presentation and the recording.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
All of you.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.